Hello everybody, James here, and it is once again story time with Dutch Mantell, and it's episode 125. After a 6-week absence, Dutch Mantell is once again back. I think we're just going to have to talk about this then, Dutch. So you were fine 1 minute and then you weren't the next minute again. What happened?
Well, I had an infection, a blood infection, actually. Almost the same thing that Kevin Sullivan had. I think he had the same thing. But I do want to tell the people that if you get sick in the United States medical system is fantastic. It is really, really good. Except when your insurance begins to run out. then it's not so good, because then it's time for you to go. So, and that's what I ran into. So I ended up having to do a GoFundMe, and I want to thank all the people who contributed to that, because it was kind of scary there at the end. So, but once I got that taken care of, I want to thank everybody. I am better, and I am better because of them. So when I went home, and I've only been home here for about, I don't know, less than a week, possibly, because I was ready to get out. And, once you stay in say, the hospital for like 5 weeks, anytime you think you can get out, you're ready to go for it. Because I was tired of the place. And so I finally got out, came home. I've only been here about, I don't know, 4 or 5 days right now. And I'm following the doctor's orders. Everything that they said to do, I'm doing. And taking my medicine, which I have a lot of pills right now that I'm taking, a lot of medication. But I'm taking it. My daughter's taking care of me. And so, but I do want to thank the fans for really helping me out. I want to thank them from my heart. Thank you very much.
So the GoFundMe was started by your daughter sort of the time before when you got sick, and as everybody I'm sure watching knows, there was a huge influx of donations, which carried you through that first sort of stint when your insurance ran out, and then during this stint as well. All right, I've got just a general US medical question. When does your insurance then kick in for the next year? Is it a calendar year or what?
I really don't know, to tell you the truth. My daughter would know. I could ask her, but she's not here. But it's confusing, but it ran out on Kevin Sullivan too.
Mm-hmm.
I think, or it was nearing. My insurance didn't really run out, but it was getting close to being expired, and that's what I was what I was afraid of. Because then, when you run out and they send you bills, and it's, if it stays unpaid for a long, long time, which is probably what this would have done, then they go after what you own, which is a house. So I didn't want them putting liens on a house, because then it really, really gets complicated then.
Yeah, so that was,
as the people can see, they helped me out of a jam.
Yeah, I believe that for this stint in hospital, I don't think that was covered by insurance. So I think that's from the GoFundMe that people have, the fans have helped you out. And once again, Dutch thanks you, I thank you, everybody thanks you for all the donations and everything. So I believe that's helped with the latest stint. So as you remember before, well, maybe not actually, but a few months ago, obviously you had an infection, a urinary tract infection, and it's one of those things where you are like the last person to know that you've got an infection that you're dealing with, because I think, like your daughter said, something to the effect of,
No, she recognized. she recognized it first. She said I was making no sense in any of my responses back to her. She was talking to me. She said, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Nothing. Nothing's wrong with me." And it went on and on. And finally she said, "You're not acting right." I said, "I'm fine." Because I thought I was perfectly normal. And then she got on the telephone and dialed 911. They come and picked me up and took me down to the emergency room, and they diagnosed me and then put me in a hospital. And then the first day they told me that, you have sepsis, and I'd never heard of sepsis before. I had, but like a couple of years ago, and then all of a sudden, the doctor told us. He said, "Hey, this is if you'd have gone a little bit more before bringing him in, he may not have made it, and he may not make it now." And they give me a 50-50 chance of beating it or surviving it, which is, and you know what I did? I was so out of it. I just laughed at it. I said something like, 50-50, it's not too bad. I said something that didn't make any sense. But and then they start filling you full of the antibiotics, and it takes a while for it to catch, for it to really start. And it was about a week before, they probably stopped the advance of it, but they didn't stop the infection, getting it down. And then that started to kick in. So, but I got to thank the doctors and the hospital, because, I was completely out of it. I didn't, and there is a total week there that I do not remember. I just don't remember anything that went on that week.
Do you, because I know like you were in, because this latest time you were in the hospital for a week and then you were in rehab for 4 or 5 weeks. Amanda said to me that the infection was going down again, you were in remission, and then it hit you again while you were in the rehab center, but then it was easier to control the second time. It's like, where are these infections even coming from? Do you know?
From somewhere, I don't know. So I think possibly from a simple thing like not washing your hands every time that I do something, which is, if you have an infection, I don't think it takes much for the second time for it to kick in. And now, once I've started paying attention to that, I think I may have it under control. But one time I may not be my hands totally clean. It could kick back in.
So just a lower immune system, basically, is what you're saying. It could be anything.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. They'd have to tell me, and I wouldn't probably understand what they were telling me, but that was it, probably.
So, improved now? Because you spent a long time in the
much.
rehab center, so, you're working on mobility and stuff like that a bit more as well.
Yep.
What did they put you through? What was what were they putting you through as far as physical exercise?
Well, mostly I just rode the bike. See what I have. I have neuropathy and both feet. It's a lower extremity condition, and I rode the bike, and then I had to use a walker because my balance is off. So, and it would take a lot of rehab for me to actually get back to where I had mobility. And the doctors have told me you'll probably never regain it like you had it before, but you have to do it, or otherwise, it just won't get better. Your mobility will not improve, and you won't improve. So I'm trying to do it as much as I can, but it's a crazy it's a crazy condition.
I know if you've been in rehab for so long, I want you to be doing like cartwheels and backflips, man. I want me money's worth.
And I was thinking, I used to get in the ring, jump over the top rope, do this, do that, and all of a sudden, now you don't have any mobility at all, and you're thinking, wait a minute, how did this happen? But hey, it's just getting older, and I hope it doesn't happen to anybody else. But it is a serious condition, and you need something.
Someone offering you chocolates now.
She was telling me something.
Oh. Right then, should we get to some wrestling? Then
let's do some wrestling. And hey, I missed this show. I have missed it a lot.
a lot of
James, I didn't miss you that much, but I missed it.
I don't blame you.
I missed, and I didn't watch a lot of shows either. So you're going to have to catch me up on a lot of this, which is actually the fun part.
Yeah. So
of getting recalled up again.
Just so everybody knows, so the infection with Dutch, it's really, really bad. And I think, is it fair to say, Dutch, that, is affecting memory here, there, and everywhere. So we're basically going to talk through everything together. And then we'll get you sort of caught up, because I know you didn't watch any wrestling in the last 6 weeks. You've been horrifically ill for that time as well. So basically, it's almost like a catch-up session and a chit-chat, and essentially, something for the fans to enjoy, who've been waiting patiently for 6 weeks, if nothing else, for an update, because the amount of people who wrote on videos saying, "Get well, Dutch," or "Where are you?" or "What's happening? Can we have an update?" I mean, it must have been in the thousands. Like, every single video I post, it doesn't have anything to do with you, and people are asking how you are. So I think, if nothing else, it's just great. It's just great for people to see you, because I don't think you realize just how many people miss you when you're not there.
Well, that is the thing that I learned years and years ago. Once you have a fan in wrestling, they're a fan for, basically a lifetime, because a lot of them think they know you. And in a way, they do. And once a wrestling fan is like nailed or caught, or once they're a fan, and I don't get as much as you got, but I got the fan mail too. And how are you doing? And oh my God, and this and that and the other. And I watched you win, and a lot of them can just go over your whole history. So, and that I appreciated. And without them, without their encouragement, it made me feel better, and made me wanted to get better faster. So I want to thank all the fans for all their cards and all their well wishes, because I really appreciated those.
We shall do some wrestling news then. We'll get back to it, how people remember. So the first one is something we actually watched together just beforehand. I've got a few tidbits afterwards as well, and we'll sort of figure things out. But The Rock, Cody, Rhodes, they had a very important segment on WWE SmackDown last Friday. We watched said segment. This is the first time that Rock has been seen since the first episode of Raw on Netflix. This is around the time, actually, you started getting sick, so I'm not sure you would have watched that. But I'll give you a brief history beforehand. The Rock came on the Raw on Netflix in the beginning of January, and basically said he killed off his feud with Cody Rhodes, he killed off his feud with Roman Reigns, and he was almost there being, corporate shill, almost. We love Netflix, thank you for having us, goodbye. So that was the last we saw of him. And then he turned up on SmackDown, and then what did you see? Because I told you beforehand, a lot of fans really didn't like this segment, but you did.
Oh, I did like it. Because now, SmackDown now is 3 hours, correct?
Yes, until the summer. An interminable 3 hours as well, let me tell you.
But this, and I'm sure this segment was at the end of the show, right?
Yeah, yeah, it must have been.
Well, it kept them to the end, because first time you see them in the ring together, and the crowd was red hot. I saw part of this. But that crowd, they were in Los Angeles or they were in
No,
New
New
Orleans.
Orleans. Yeah.
New Orleans, and they were red hot. So, and I'm wondering, I mean, this to me was one of the most intriguing interviews I've heard. See, a lot of times, the internet beats the show. Because I think they reported they do an interview at the end, and but I think that was out before they even did the interview.
Yeah, I should say the interview wasn't the main event. There were a couple of matches after that, but it was in the final hour.
Okay, but I liked it because now what is the purpose of this interview? Because the last time I saw Rock and Cody, they were like pissed at each other. They're mad. Now all of a sudden, and you expect fireworks when they get into the ring, but we didn't get that because The Rock told him that they're like somehow they're like brothers, they're like family, and they all this and they all that. But what he ended up saying was, "I don't want all that. I want your soul." Now, what does that mean? And I love that. I want your soul. And I got to be honest, that's the first time I ever heard that in wrestling. is I want your soul. So there is a lot of there's a lot to unpack in this angle, and they didn't need physicality to do it. But they were talking back and forth, and I think the fans got a little bit of a behind the scenes, and this was new. This is new for the fans. It was new for me, but I think it was intriguing as hell, and I think they got big box office money out of that one interview because Rock is such a talker. And he was talking, but he was talking to Cody, but he was talking to everybody too. It was almost like they were in the same room with you and they're talking. I found it intriguing. I found it really fascinating. And one of the best interviews I have heard in probably
6 weeks.
yeah, 3 weeks or whatever. But to me, to really trap me in a wrestling interview now takes a lot, and not so much Cody. Cody was a listener. Cody was the same as me, but I think that they captivated me there, and they got me now. As long as they tell, and I've said time and time again, it's not what they do in the ring; it's the story they tell, and this told a big story.
Do you
I saw The Rock when he was like 3 years old. We lived in a you paid weekly by the week in Nashville, Tennessee, and Soul Man Rocky Johnson was living there too, and Little Rock. I'd see him. I'd come in sometimes, and in the daytime he would be out like in the playground. I would see him there, but I only really met him once. At 3 years old, he wouldn't remember that. Cute little boy. But that's how far back our relationship goes. But back to this interview, fascinating. I liked it.
Well,
and I don't know what the people. Why didn't the people like this interview? What did they say?
Do you know, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know if it's because Rock is flip-flopping between good guy and bad guy.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That is fine in this because now what are the people, what are they thinking now? As a fan, what are you thinking, James?
I'm wondering what the end game is. I've got a quote from The Rock that I'll quote you in a minute. I want to bring this up because you'll like this. Do you know who, as of last week, who the new head writer or co-head writer of SmackDown is?
Who is it?
Road Dogg.
Oh, he's the head. I thought. Okay. I thought he was Raw. No,
No,
SmackDown?
he was. He wasn't the head writer. He went back He was released, and then he went back after a couple of years, I think, when Triple H got back in charge. And then, yeah, now he's been promoted again to SmackDown, co-lead writer again. So somewhere in this.
Good choice. Good choice. Listen, now there's a thing we can grab on, because who's been in the business all his life since he was a little boy? The Rock. Who's also been in the business since he was a little boy? Cody. Now you throw the other individual in there, Road Dogg, and he's been in there ever since he was a little boy too. Because all their fathers were in pro wrestling. And if you take the three of them and put them together, I think we're going to see some magic here. I really do. Because this is not something, let's don't jump 2 weeks to get somewhere. Let's work our way to this. And I think it's going to make for some great, great TV, because I'm looking forward to watching it and seeing it and how they tell this story. And once you get into a story, if anybody is out there who's ever written a story, which I think there's very few. Now, in a book, you need to get to it fairly quick because you're limited on pages. They're not limited on pages here. I mean, they want to take this as far as they can take it, as long as it makes sense. And as soon as they drop off the page, we'll know it, and they'll know it too. So, I think this is going to be some fascinating TV by WWE.
I think maybe there's one weird bit, is that The Rock is promising Cody Rhodes everything. And it's like, well, Cody Rhodes has been the WWE champion for 2 years, and he's probably got 8 figures in the bank, or at least, in assets as well. So what could possibly The Rock be offering Cody to then become the corporate puppet? That's what. So I don't know what The Rock wants from Cody, and I don't know what Cody could possibly be swayed by from The Rock. So I mean, what do you think they're going to come up with to sort of tempt Cody? Let's say a career in Hollywood, maybe.
Well, that's the part of the story we don't know. And that's the part of the story that we're waiting on. But I think that they can just don't overthink yourself, because that's what a lot of writers do. They say, well, we're trying to get here, so let's do this and let's do that. To me, watching it, I'm thinking, I can't wait to see how The Rock turns on Cody. That's the first thing I thought is, wait a minute. And if I'm a fan, I'm saying, don't believe him, Cody. He's a liar. That's not going to happen. Hell, we're doing wrestling here now. That's not going to happen. So, and he's got to have a way to, really screw Cody over, which is what I'm expecting. And I'm expecting it. Now, I said that, they got all those things behind it. I don't think it's going to be a quick turn, but I think it will. And when it starts to, peter out a little bit, I think that's what we're going to see.
So The Rock, on a post-SmackDown press conference, because they were announcing WrestleMania was going to be in New Orleans as well, so that's probably why they had a press conference. Here's a quote from The Rock. In the world of pro wrestling, as we all know, everything will culminate in a match. Whatever happens, it will end up in the ring. What I really love about this rare airspace that we've gotten to with the character of the final boss, that's The Rock is now the final boss, by the way. It's like this white whale unicorn in that match with the final boss and Cody Rhodes.
What do you say, the white whale unicorn?
Well, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's not about the WWE title or having a match or punching, kicking or bleeding. That is so part of our world. So he's talking about the feud here. It never has to culminate to a match.
Yeah.
Well, why? Now that seems the antithesis of everything pro wrestling is. Of course it's got to end in a match, surely.
Well, I think what we're seeing that is the business now is being almost redesigned. And by him saying it doesn't have to end in a match. Now, I don't know what that means. I really don't.
Sounds like he's going to be a manager, Does that sound a bit weird to me, like a Vince McMahon style executive manager? Do you know what I mean? Big boss kind of thing, where he brings up his stable of corporate wrestlers to face everybody else.
No, I think a lot of things are possible now, and a lot of things are possible that's believable. Like you said, it doesn't have to be in dollars and cents. It's what you were talking a while ago. Everybody knows The Rock's got money. Everybody knows that Cody's got money. So I think it has to be something else. It can't be money that's what they're looking for. They're looking for something else.
Drugs.
No, I don't think it. I don't think it's drugs, but see, they got my attention. So anything, and the beauty about this is they have time to think about it. I mean, when you see these, like The Rock, when he gets on a plane to go somewhere, when he sits in that seat, his head's going back to this angle. He's thinking, well, what can we do here, and what can we do there, and then Cody passes him in the aisle and said, I got a hell of an idea. You got to listen to this. And then he goes and sits down. And of course they run all that by if the Road Dogg is the agent for it and the writer for it. But I think Road Dogg will do very little writing for those two. They got it. You just got to just tell them, hey. And if they go long, they go long. And going long is say the interview is, time for 10 minutes. If they go 15, so what?
They did, apparently.
Okay.
They did go long, so no sweat there.
But on Netflix, what it means is they don't care. They don't care either. Because all you got to do is just adjust your ending. If they say you give them 10 minutes and say they go 20, now you got 10 minutes you got to account for. But on Netflix, it doesn't matter. You can actually
but SmackDown's still on USA Network for now. I mean, it's on Netflix everywhere else, but it's still on the USA Network. So they had to, I think they had to get rid of a women's match or something.
And yeah, you just adjust at the end. You don't adjust in your money match. You don't adjust there. That wouldn't even make sense. But how long are they still on Netflix? I mean, still on USA?
Oh, they've just re-signed, so that'll be another 5 years, at least for SmackDown on USA, and then internationally, everywhere else is on Netflix. But Raw is on Netflix everywhere. Very confusing, apart from the countries where it isn't.
That is confusing.
Yeah.
So they're not going to Netflix on SmackDown. SmackDown's not going to Netflix?
Not for US. No, it's not for America or the United States, but it is for the rest of the world.
Now that's confusing.
It is confusing. Let's go to the next.
You got to remember now, I'm coming off an ailment where my memory is not so good. So now that's confusing me right there.
Okay, then. So next on the docket, something else we watched together several times. In fact, this is something I've talked about. I'm going to plug my own stuff, right? So apart from this light that's in my face, right? It looks like I'm eating the sun.
Yeah, it does. Hey, that looks pretty good there.
No, I've got some blinds right in front of me, and for whatever reason, they're like mid-grey and they've got holes everywhere. So I need to get like a roll-down blind. Man,
I'm glad to be back. I really am.
Oh, dear me. Anyway.
Hey, did you miss me?
No. I'm joking. Do you know who was talking about you?
Nobody. Hey, you stole that joke.
Yeah, from you.
But it is a good joke. You know who really missed you? Who? Nobody. And you just deadpan it at the end. It's actually good. No, what are we talking about here?
Yes. Do you remember just before we start, this stupid light? Here we go. I feel better now. So this stupid... no, I'm talking about the light now. So this Thunder Rosa, the worst run-in AEW history, we watched it together. We can watch it again if you want, while we can watch it live so we can rewind and go back and forth.
Well, it's only 30 seconds, isn't it?
We might as well. I'll tell you what then. I'll just pause and I'll just sort it out so we can react to it live. One sec. Right, okay, so Dutch and I have already watched this a few times already. I've covered it on my James Romero channel on YouTube, which is doing very well. Thank you for asking, Dutch. I know you didn't ask, but I'm telling you about it. So this was the world's worst run-in. You tell me when to pause or rewind. I'm gonna
Okay. So we're going to talk about this as
yeah.
yeah.
You talk all you need to.
And that's that's Statler. What's her name?
This is Thunder
Chris
Rosa
Statlander.
coming in. Chris Statlander is dead on the floor.
Yep.
So it's the Thunder Rosa run-in where she's trying to run off the heels, but the heels decide instead they don't want to run.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference. Oh, what? Threatening him with the chair. Boy, I was a no-sell. And he said, "Now, come on now. Come on,
my
girl."
first point is, I want to ask you this, Dutch. Right, so my first point is that not only are they not backing up, they're stood very close together.
Yeah, they're pressing her.
Yeah, which makes me think is that they've got no intention to move or feed for the chair or anything. Because, like in wrestling, you never see people stood that close.
Well, not with somebody with a chair, anyway. So now to me, it look. Oh, she go up. Boy, look at this sale.
Yeah, we'll watch that one again.
She comes back, and there's not even a movement to sell it or get out of the way. And they said, "Hey, come on." Now it looks like to me like they've had a discussion with it. And who's this girl with the chair? What's her name?
Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa. It looks like they have a plan before, which is what I'm thinking. So we'll have to wait for that. But Statlander is selling like hell over there.
Did you work with Chris Statlander? Was she in Impact or anything when you were there?
No. I don't know this girl.
Oh.
But she's pretty good. She's a good talent. She really is.
It's this bit that gets me. Penelope Ford just wanders up and starts grabbing the chair.
Yeah, like, hey, you don't want to do that. And she's trying to get it loose. Doesn't want to hit her or anything. And the other girl, who's the other girl's name? What's her name?
Megan Bain.
She just stands there and they're looking around.
She's 6'1". She's billed at Megan Bain. So that's why I was saying she's sort of like apparently their latest answer to China in AEW. Mm-hmm. What do you think then? So
they killed that gimmick right away. If she's China, she's doing nothing, but she's not running.
Well, I was going to say, well, no. I mean, she is the answer to China if she's doing nothing and just stood there watching.
She's 6'1".
So they claim.
And then she's like 5'10".
Yeah.
But
all right, so you see all that, Dutch, then. So there were loads of different theories.
I did see that.
Do you think they did that on purpose to screw Thunder Rosa over, or do you think they just, between them, they've got 20 years experience and they don't know how to run away from someone with a chair?
No, I don't think they did it on purpose.
Oh, really?
I think this was all planned because there's your delegate on your face.
Yeah, I don't remember.
See it again. No, I think it was all planned. I think it was. Now it makes it look like now they can do it. It looks like Thunder Rosa is with them, but she's not with them. And it's like in the middle of a discussion or negotiation. So, but you did save Statlander and they did finally back off, but it did look like they had some sort of an agreement beforehand that we have yet, as fans, we have yet to hear of. So maybe this could be the start of
a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, possibly, of AEW telling a story, which is, I've said, that's what they need the whole time. They got the talent. All they got to do is tell a story. And this is the start of one, so let's see if they carry that out.
God, you've not been watching the Death Riders recently, I'll tell you. Goodness me, 6 months of nothing, that's 7 months nearly. Right then, next up, Michael Cole.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to go back to AEW. I haven't watched it. Who's a possible opponent for them?
As in...
Who? Yeah, you say the Death Riders?
Yeah, so John Moxley's been the champion, but he won't wear the belt. He carries it around in a suitcase. And also, none of the Death Riders ever lose, ever.
Well, you can't go like that.
Yeah, it's been 6-7 months and they just never lose. And
okay, who's their top babyface over there?
Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, who are currently working against Don Callis' family. So basically, the answer is that there's nobody to challenge Jon Moxley apart from Adam Copeland, who's already been beaten by Jon Moxley clean.
Yeah, there's nothing in him.
No.
Not right now. He'd have to start another story and actually do a backstory. See, in wrestling, sometimes you got to re-push someone. They got the talent. And who did you say that you just mentioned that he's already lost once? What's his name?
Well, that's something else. Oh, no, we talked about this just before you had a sabbatical again. It used to be Edge, and then he and then he used his real name, Adam Copeland, and now he's simply known as Cope.
Mm-hmm. Well, if they wanted to use him, because his background's not going to leave. People remember him as they remember him. But I think that possibly they could do something with him. I'm sure they could do something with him. They just got to retell the story again.
Next on the agenda is Michael Cole says WWE is not wrestling. So, this write-up is from Cage Side Seats. While Cole is right about WWE's evolution and the importance of storytelling, his statement sends a mixed message as he and WWE still refer to the product as pro wrestling. Under Vince McMahon, pro wrestling and professional wrestler became prohibited words. To set WWE apart and distance it from the stigma of pro wrestling, McMahon rebranded his version of the genre as sports entertainment. Pro wrestlers, at least those in his employ, were called WWE superstars. Now, Michael Cole went on Logan Paul's podcast and basically said, we're an entertainment company, we're an entertainment entity first, we're not pro wrestling. Why is it even now Vince McMahon is gone, are WWE diehards obsessed with the idea of not being pro wrestling? Why is pro wrestling such a dirty word?
I don't even know why he would say that. What purpose does that serve, really? It is what it is, and let the people choose it if they want. I think by this time in the history of pro wrestling, I think the people kind of know that already, and not to be renamed, but everybody knows that. I don't know what the purpose is they get by saying it's an entertainment company, and it's just, we never said it before, is what I'm saying. 60 years of pro wrestling, or how long it was, that it was never said. And we hit some hot ass runs by not saying that. You learn from a little kid at pro wrestling. Is it fake? It's fake, believe me. But when we were doing sellouts, I don't think I used to hear people say this. I tell you what, it might be fake. That wasn't fake. All they need is one match that they can believe in, a hard-hitting match. And I think that's what Gunther gives them. Because he beats the shit out of some of those guys in there.
When was the last time you remember hearing somebody or overhearing somebody say, hey, did you catch the sports entertainment last night? We're going to the sports entertainment tonight. Yeah. Do you want a ticket?
But you know what has lessened is somebody calling it fake. They've got past that point now. It's not fake. It's wrestling. So the fake part is almost the extra thing that doesn't need to be said. It's wrestling, and everybody accepts that. I mean, how do you sell 17,000 or 20,000 tickets to a fake event? I don't know how you do it. But wrestling somehow found that way to affect the fans or touch the fans, to get them to go and buy ringside seats or a seat way up high, which is overpriced anyway, to me, for
well, speaking of tickets, WrestleMania, have a guess how much?
10,000.
For both nights. I actually went on it for the fourth row for WrestleMania, $15,000.
Fourth row.
Fourth row was $15,000 for both nights.
Now, see, that's to me, that's unbelievable.
It's the money ain't fake,
How?
I'll tell you that. And
No
people are
kidding.
paying it.
Because they want to be there. I think what we're going to see with WWE in the next couple of years is insane business and insane numbers. That's what we're going to see. Because I think, and I've said it here for years, it's an art. It's an art form. And once you get in that art form and the people get used to seeing it and enjoying it, I don't know how you're going to get somebody to pay $15,000 for a fourth. What's ringside?
It's probably about the same. It might even be more. It might be 20. I mean, I couldn't find the number for that.
Well, it's got to be more than the fourth row.
It could be. It could be 20. I mean, they're all sold out, so I couldn't check. I mean, there was including booking fees, $10,000 per seat to watch from a skybox and have a photo with Hulk Hogan. And they were trying to dress it up like Hulk Hogan would be watching the WrestleMania event with you. And at no point it actually said it. You just get a meet and greet beforehand and then he leaves, I'm pretty sure. But $10,000 a seat just to get a handshake and a photo with Hulk Hogan. You boo him.
Wow.
I know.
That's unbelievable. It really is.
Hey,
I want to watch it with Hulk. Wonder what they would charge me.
12,000 for you.
They probably charge me 30,000. Well, you can sit there, but it'd be 30 grand. So
before we get too off the point with the sports entertainment, we're an entertainment entity first. Okay, what does WWE stand for?
World Wrestling Entertainment.
Nope.
What?
No one seems to know this, right? In 2011, I couldn't find the press release, but I found a news article about it. In 2011, WWE gave a press release out saying that World Wrestling Entertainment was no longer the name of the company. The company's name is WWE. WWE, since 2011, unless they've changed it since, and I don't know, has not stood for anything. It's WWE and that's it.
That's it.
That's it. So it's an acronym that stands for nothing.
I didn't know that.
2011.
So it's
Search
just...
out.
Interesting.
So actually, in fairness to the company hasn't had wrestling in their name since 2011, which I just find so bananas. But I've never understood the whole wrestling, that's what my father did. When Vince McMahon used to say that, it's like, that's what my father did, not what I would do. And it's like you're a wrestling promoter. That is all you will ever be.
Yeah.
And, you might have been accused of being some other things as well. But, he tried boxing, he tried American football, he tried buying a hotel, he tried opening a hotel and casino, I think, in Las Vegas. He tried being a restaurateur in Times Square. And he was never any of that. He had a stake in the Cape Cod Coliseum and God knows where in the Northeast. I just don't understand why he's trying to prove to himself that he's not wrestling, or or he's a music impresario, or he's in films. It's like, no, WWE is wrestling, and that is it, and it's absolutely fine to be that.
So WWE is an acronym that stands on its own. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, well, it's no longer an acronym. That's the point. It was, and now it isn't.
So WWE is just the name of the company.
Yes, and doesn't stand for anything. World Wrestling Entertainment is not it anymore.
That's weird.
Tell me about it. We will move on.
That's weird as hell. But to me, it will always be World Wrestling Entertainment.
Next up, Kevin Nash complains, would you believe? Work rate doesn't mean a bunch of moves. So he's talking about work rate, right? And people have their own versions of what work rate means, so I'll be asking for yours in a minute. Work rate doesn't mean doing a bunch of moves. Work rate means telling a story. One of the best workers of all time was Hulk Hogan, which he was. He had a formula. You, and I have to edit out the swearing, you effing knew his formula. It was like paint by numbers. You watch him against The Rock in Toronto, and that's working. That's the work. The work isn't whether or not you land a moonsault. That tells me that you either spent time on a trampoline, time in one of those rooms with a trampoline that you jump on foam cubes, because when I broke in, guys didn't do that stuff. Shawn Michaels could do the flip off the top rope, but he would go up and just say, catch me, get a hand on me. He didn't know where the F he was going, but this effing stuff of it being a six-man tag and a guy gets stopped and the other four guys are outside fighting and a guy ends up on the top rope and just happens to flip onto the other four guys, bye, I'm gone. He's complaining, I guess, about people saying work rates only means more moves, faster moves, and more choreographed moves. What does work rate mean to you, Dutch?
Well, work rate is telling the story inside the match. And he's right. It doesn't mean more acrobatics and more moves and more off the top rope stuff. It means keeping the work consistent with the story and the flow of the match. I think that's what he means. And he's right. Because you think Gunther's going to be doing all that stuff? No. He's going to be beating the hell. That's his work rate. You know, he may take him to the corner and give a chop, and the guy staggers to another corner, and he follows him down there. And, you know, it's things that follow and mesh into one continuous, like, if you put the match together, that's what he's talking about. And I think he's right. Because to me, I might as well watch tumbling or acrobatics, because a lot of that, they do this stuff and it is so orchestrated that it looks like it's put together. I mean, but you got two guys putting this together. So, you know, they've had to work on this, and while their work rate may be flawless, still, if you think about it, wait a minute, if I see a boxing match and he knocks a guy down, does the guy get up with more power and more vitality than he did before he went down? No. He gets up, and the work rate in this, if he gets knocked down, if he gets up, he's still wobbly if you're following the work rate, and that's not the finish. That's the work rate of it. But I actually agree with Kevin on this. I think he's totally 100% right.
So, you see, now that is a lost art. I'll get to what I was going to say in a minute, but that is a lost art of people reacting like a normal person would in an athletic endeavour, is that the further on in a match, the more tired you are. And for some reason, most people don't do that. They want to pretend like they're not tired at all.
Right, and I don't get that. I don't get that.
Shouldn't you be making things look like it's difficult because it is? You know what I mean?
Well, for me, when I got up and was selling something, that was because I'd blowed up. I was out. But yeah, but these guys, they're in shape. Yeah, okay, we'll give them that. They're in shape. They can do all these moves. Okay, that's great. But if you're watching it and you go, wait a minute, didn't he just get knocked down? And now he's up. He's got more power than he had before. I don't know where they learned this, but that's not the way I learned it.
So, if I was to give you...
Okay, in a movie, a guy gets hit and he goes down. But then you come back to him and he's fighting like he never got hit. So what is the purpose of it?
I see that in so many films as well, you know, where they're punching each other or, you know, pretending to punch each other. And then they'll go, psh, you know, they'll move the head or something. And then they'll just come back with a punch back and it just goes on forever. And I hate those kinds of movie fights.
I wouldn't watch that movie again anymore. The hell with it. I wouldn't pay $15,000 a seat to see that.
I don't blame you. GoFundMe. Need another GoFundMe to get you fourth row ringside. Right. So let me give you this, right? The dirt sheets, definitely. Your old pal Dave Meltzer might say, Dutch.
Oh, my good buddy.
Your good, close, personal, long time close friend. What he would say, or what I've always imagined he would say about what work rate is, he would purely define work rate as the effort, not the storytelling, not the psychology. He would purely mean work rate as in the effort, as in how hard did the two or however many people in the ring work.
Hey, I've seen two guys work their asses off, and the people would do this. They would sit and look at them because it doesn't match the story. So you gotta, this is the two most important organs on a wrestler is the ears. Listen to the people, listen to the fans, and they'll tell you what they want. Because I used to go to the ring, an old time wrestler told me one time, he said, he didn't put it this. I say it's the temperature of the room, but he didn't call it that. But he said, feel the room, feel. And if you can feel it, they're going to buy it. So you get in the ring and you do something, and if they respond, okay, they like that. So hey, let's do it again just to check them out. And when you can get that and you can feel that, and that's not in work rate, but it is defining what work rate, where you can get it, where you can really bring it to you. And I don't know what's so hard to understand about that. Dave Meltzer doesn't understand wrestling. He never has. But I think wrestling is how much, and you can listen to the fans. If they really enjoy something, they will tell you. And of course, you can tell by how many tickets you sold that night too. In Japan, they will sit there and all through all that, the quality of, the work rate they do in Japan and in Puerto Rico too. They'll sit there and just watch it like this, doon, and then wait for a big chop at the end. They don't respond until that big chop is there. Ooh. Then they come up. I think the same way worldwide. And I used to work in Trinidad. It's the same deal. You do all this stuff, and they will enjoy. Not saying they don't enjoy it, but they wait to that big spot, that big shot, punch or kick or whatever, and then they will respond on that because they can see it. And and that's why the guy needs to go down, because if say a guy gives me a shot, boom, and they pop on the shot, if I hop right back up and I'm ready to go, well, the shot meant nothing. See, this is almost like a training session for a beginning wrestler. An older wrestler or one with more experience, he said, sell it. That's what they say, sell it. And that sell it means respond to it. If you get hit like that, you don't get up like you just hopped out of the bed. That when you get up like you've been stunned. And when you do that, now the people understand it a little more. I don't know. It's something you shouldn't have to explain, but you do.
But yeah, and so often you do as well. We're going to be bouncing back and forth with subjects, but this is going to be a fun one. Your old pal, Vince Russo, has claimed that he is going to stop watching wrestling soon. Let me give you the quote.
I read this.
Let me give you the quote, for heavens to Murgatroyd. Anyway, as my retirement plan now comes into form, I can tell you that on my 65th birthday, I will stop watching any and all WWF programming for good. So
WWF?
that leaves, that plays into what I'm wondering. That hasn't existed since 2002. So that leaves about 11 more months of me being one of the only podcasters who will be brutally honest with you about the poor, underachieving creative quality of the show. So enjoy the honesty and truth while you can. So the honesty and the truth of Vince Russo is only around for 11 more months.
Aren't I giving honesty? Aren't I giving truth? So he's saying that what I'm giving out isn't what I'm feeling. I mean, I'm not holding that against Vince. I think he's making a point, but so he's saying now he's giving. When is he going to give the honesty and the truth? After he retires or right before?
Oh, it might coincide with exactly his 65th birthday.
Yeah.
So apparently he's stopping watching WWF wrestling. So he's not going into the archives, I guess. Okay, so what do you make of this then? So I've asked other people, and they said, yeah, he claims he's going to retire every year. It's like, well, you just retire then if you hate it. Vince Russo has so many times, even in his books and I imagine his podcast as well, talks about how much he absolutely hates pro wrestling.
Yeah, I've told him that before. I said, Vince, yeah, we'd be in a conversation and we could have conversations, you know, and I didn't agree with him. And I told him, I don't agree with you. And he would say, well, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I've told him before, Vince, you literally hate wrestling. I don't know why you even report on it or try to even write for it because he's the type who would say, I think, you go through this flippy flop, boom, boom, and then hop up like nothing happened. He's a supporter of that, I guess. But if you're trying to tell a story, say you went, say that, and this might be the best way I can tell it. Two guys are going to try to convince this girl that they're fighting over her or they're fighting over something, and they go out in the yard, and the guy gets punched and he goes down. If he gets right up and fights back, well, the girl is thinking, well, hell, these two weak guys. He hits him and he hops right up. But if the guy gets up, now if he wants sympathy from that girl, he gets up and he sells it. But I don't know who wouldn't do that. But see,
Is Vince Russo the girl in
but
this who's looking for sympathy by any chance?
well, I think he's trying to tell a story. I may got that story all rounded up and leveled off, but the the thing is, I think Vince looked at wrestling as just a paycheck, and that's it seemed like you wanted to make it the best you could make it, so that paycheck would go up a little bit or quite a lot if you told it right. But I don't know about Vince. He literally, and I see the way he got into business. Told me he was doing something for. How did he get in the business?
Oh, I think the story goes that he had a video store and then he sponsored a local radio show, and then he sort of via that got onto the radio show and then started interviewing wrestlers, and then from there I don't know if he submitted something to the WWF, but he got through via the WWF magazine as an editor, and then I guess Vince McMahon liked some of the stories and brought him on as a TV writer. So from there, that's the very rough story. But I mean, that's the point. I mean, Vince Russo goes on about how much he hates wrestling all the time, but it's like you can't hate it that much because you've got 48 podcasts a week on wrestling. I mean,
How do we do?
oh yeah, we destroy them all. Don't worry about that. But yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, if you hate it, because it's like in one of his books, I think he talks about, wrestling has taken everything from me. All the wrestlers or most of them I've worked with have all been selfish or horrible or blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, if it's affected you this badly, if I had a job that affected me this badly, I would never work in it again. Yet he's still, in an ancillary kind of way, as much as we are, I guess now, involved in the wrestling business as an outside commentator. So if you hate it that much, just... I don't know. You should have quit 25 years ago, I guess.
No kidding. But he has a different version of wrestling that he adheres to, and I don't agree with that. And sometimes when I think he had some decent ideas, except he would rush through them so fast, the people wouldn't even know there was an angle there after the third week. It's gone. He would actually right away I mean, not right away, like immediately, but right, WRIT. He would write away all his time. He would get in it and get out of it before you even knew it had time to grow. See, these people don't think wrestling 24 hours a day like he did, or we do. Or I mean, I don't. I quit that years ago. But when you write something, you're writing a story, and if the guys are two decent competitors or two decent talents, they can stretch. See, some angles are written in the territory days. Some angles were written for 3 weeks. Say you wrote an angle just for a big show, 3 weeks away, okay. But now, does this angle, can you stretch it to the next big show, which is say 4 weeks away? Can you get 7 weeks out of this angle running straight? Well, possibly not. But if you put another person in there and did something else, and then you can actually beat the heel, but as long as he come back and got revenge for that big match, you could stretch it that far. I've seen some angles go, and look at Roman Reigns. How long has he taken this bloodline? For years?
That's interesting, though, because the bloodline looks to be pretty much done now. It seems that Jacob Fatu is going to be a babyface. Now Solo Sikoa seems to be on the way out. Roman Reigns is goodness knows where to be. It almost looks like it's petering out finally. But yeah, that's been 3 years plus.
Well, that's what it looks like. But if they didn't want to finish up the bloodline, then I think it is time to finish them, just because of the sheer amount of time they've invested in them. But now they have something to replace it. Mm-hmm. They got Cody and the Rock. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now they got something that's the meat and bones of what they got to offer. Before it was all bloodline, it was all Roman. But now, since they want to move past that, because the first time a writer sits down and he wants to think about these talents together, if he's hitting a block, he needs to get out of it. Now he has Cody and The Rock and all their, I'm going to call it tentacles, wherever they can reach. And the Cody, he could go and talk to anybody. Roman, The Rock, he can go talk to anybody. But rest assured that somewhere in this, it's going to be Rock and Roman. They will go for a big payday, and they'll get it. If they do it halfway right, they will get it. The thing is, what happens to Cody? I hope they don't try. And sometimes some talents do get hurt when they step from that top spot just to make room for somebody else. They get hurt just a little bit, but I think it would be a massive miscarriage of justice if Cody somehow he slipped out of the main event spot. He's got to be in there or close to it. I think he will be.
We're going to be getting to Cody in a minute, actually. Just before we get off Russo. Okay, so he's threatened to retire many times in the past. He's saying in 11 months on his 65th birthday he's going to stop watching wrestling, and he's, I guess, going to stop podcasting about modern wrestling or wrestling as a whole.
What's he going to do? What's he going to do?
Well, here's what I'm going to say is, do you actually believe for 1 second he will stop podcasting and talking about wrestling and watching wrestling on his 65th birthday? No, or he will just continue?
I think, yeah, he's going to continue on. I mean, what else is he going to do? He's done this his whole life. So all of a sudden, what's he going to talk? Like planting flowers? Or like working on cars or so? I don't know. He's been in the wrestling business his whole life, around it. And a lot of it's been just bitching about wrestling. No, he's not going anywhere.
So let's get back to Cody Rhodes then. So the prevailing idea is that we've got a Royal Rumble winner. We're sticking with the man here. The Royal Rumble winner is Jey Uso, who's going to be going against Gunther. So that's on the Raw side. But on the SmackDown side, we're still waiting to see who the number one contender is going to be. And the prevailing theory is that John Cena is going to be the winner of the Elimination Chamber and then go on to face Cody Rhodes in the main event of Night 2, I guess, of WrestleMania. How does that work for you? Because we were talking just before, obviously, he got sick, John Cena and his retirement tour and what he should be doing, what he shouldn't be doing to get maximum effectiveness. But what's your opinion of main eventing WrestleMania with John Cena one more time?
In New Orleans?
Yeah. No, in Vegas. New Orleans is next year, Vegas is this year.
Oh, okay. You got to keep reminding me of this stuff because
I know.
I've had 6 weeks of brain disinvolvement. But I don't know how it works. It doesn't really grab me. But if Cena could do some really, really deep interviews about it, because what's your first thought when you hear that Cena and Cody Rhodes are going to have a match? Who's going to win? What your first thing is you say that Cody's going to win, unless something gives you the feeling that Cena is really going to see if it's his last match. If he wins, what happens then?
Well, he's going to be working until the end of the year, so he's booked until December, and he's got quite a few dates already in the calendar. And I think he's committed to like 40 or so matches throughout the year, so he will be a presence.
The wrestling fan has been, educated that if he says I'm finishing up in December, that's my last match, he's not going to leave as a champion. Because he's either got to get beat or he's got to give it up. So what I would say, I think I would keep quiet as much as I could about him finishing up in December and try to say, well, he wants to finish up with the title. And if he wins the title, I don't know. It doesn't really grab me. But if that's what I'm interested to see what they're going to do, because I don't see a lot to play with there.
Would you suggest? The thing is, right? If John Cena wins, as a fan who overanalyzes these types of things like you and I would do, would you just sort of look at John Cena if he did win as almost like an Academy Award, like a lifetime achievement kind of thing? Rather than what's best for business, as Triple H might say.
Would I look at John Cena like a what?
Like a lifetime achievement award, the final belt, well done kind of thing. Or could something more interesting spin off that if he wins the belt?
Well, if they can spin something off that, I'd be interested.
Okay, I've got a theory. How about this for some booking for you? John Cena wins because The Rock costs Cody Rhodes the title. And then, for SummerSlam, you can have Cody Rhodes and John Cena versus The Rock and whoever else for a big main event. How about that?
Well, if The Rock is out there, he'd have to be involved in some way. But see, that cuts short of what he said in his interview that we watched. He wants to be a friend to Cody.
But he's only got until Elimination Chamber to make the decision, which is 8 days as we record this?
I don't know.
Oh, it's February. I'm sorry, this weekend.
It's a good question. Which is why people watch wrestling, to see what they're going to do. But now they're sitting back. Okay, we're armchair bookers, right? We're sitting back saying, what would I do? But
okay, well, why don't I give you this then? So, Elimination Chamber, here are the 6 men involved. John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth Rollins was a smash the microphone. Of those 6, who do you think, as you as a booker, who do you think would be the juiciest match to get to WrestleMania that you could, most easily write television for? So once again, John Cena, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins.
Okay, take McIntyre out because I think they've kind of used him. They'd kind of burn him up, I think. Damian Priest, same way. And Logan Paul, to me, jumps out because he's an in and out guy anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could do something with Logan Paul in that. What? I don't know, but I think you got more to work with in Logan Paul. And the guy is over now. And he got over in a way that, of course, he had the name coming in and his work rate, was really over the top. It really was. And who else? CM Punk is in there. I think there's something in him.
And Seth Rollins.
And I think Seth Rollins is burnt. I think he went through the time they were down, but he was still there, but they wasn't really doing anything with him that really caught on. And who's the other 2 you said?
No, that's it. Pretty much John Cena's all that was left over.
And Cena. And I think Cena is the one that's kind of, but he doesn't match at this point for me, Logan Paul and CM Punk.
There's been a theory.
I think those are the 2 that kind of jump at me and would be easy to do something with. And never put CM Punk in a match. Just let him talk. Because he gets more, I think he gets more mileage for what he can do just by talking. Now, Logan Paul can work and talk, but CM Punk doesn't need it.
There's been a theory from a while ago, since I think it was Logan Paul who eliminated CM Punk from the Royal Rumble, that it was going to be CM Punk and Logan Paul working together at WrestleMania. So I suspect that's why John Cena will win. So John Cena will be in the main event and it'll be Punk and Logan Paul in a singles match elsewhere.
That'd be a good one. Okay, CM Punk and Logan Paul. Who wins at this point? Who do you think?
It'd have to be Punk, I think. Because you don't. He's one of the few people who.
I'm not saying don't like preview it, but who do you think? If you think of that, who would you want to win?
Well, I'd want Punk to win, but I think he'd be one of the only people who's still a viable WWE champion aside from Cody and Roman and The Rock, and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So, you don't really want to do away with that.
Was he ever WWE champion before?
Yes, not during this run, but in the early 2010s. And in fact, he lost the title to The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Right, a few more bits of news, and then we'll shut down the show. So there has been an exodus. I wouldn't say, well, maybe not an exodus, but a spate of releases in AEW, which some people have been quite surprised by. One of them was I can't remember his name. One of them was released for domestic abuse, so he doesn't count. Anyway, the other 3 are Ricky Starks, who we've talked about ad nauseum on the show in the past, Malakai Black, who was Aleister Black in WWE, and your old pal, Miro, a.k.a. Rusev. Tony Khan has released all 3 of these guys. Ricky Starks and Miro had been asking for their release for like a year, around a year average. Malakai Black had been asking for his release since like November, I guess, or even earlier, but was still on TV until November. What I'm wondering about this is, why would Tony Khan pay these guys to stay home for an entire year instead of 1, releasing them, or 2, getting some use out of them and just having them lose matches on TV, to get other people over? Why would you just pay them to sit at home and then release them?
That's one of the mysteries of the universe. Why would Tony, who has more money than you need ever, Why would he pay them just to sit home? They don't. They sit home, don't even watch the show. They don't. They don't. Unless you call them. And do they even go to TV?
No, probably not. They probably don't. I mean, they do bring too many people to TV every week. Oh, this is something else that keeps being mentioned recently, because you'll like this, is that did you know that AEW does not hold production meetings at shows? You just turn up and you're told to do something, or you're told if you work or you don't work, and then sort of, I guess, the agents and the people sort of scrabble around with no cohesive idea of the entire show, because once again, there are no production meetings in AEW.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I thought they any production that cameras are there, you hold a meeting where you have the director of the show and he's got all his cameramen and all his announcers and all. They don't hold that.
Nope. So
I've never seen that before.
yeah, so that's probably one of the other issues why in AEW, you might see something in the first match, then the third match, then the fifth match, then the seventh match.
Well, I don't know about that. I they need to fix that.
So what would you do with a disgruntled wrestler? Let's say they're being a bit funny about. I'm not saying these people are. What if you knew that WWE wanted them?
Well, I'd beat him. That's what they have done for 60 years. Why would you change it? See, because they think he's this big hot thing, and to put him on TV and beat him with a kind of a guy you want to push. I don't know why they don't do that. I mean, you can tell when somebody is leaving when they start getting beat. But send him there without any fireworks behind him. Just go ahead and beat him, and just give the other guy who's staying, give him that win. That'd be a good match. And yeah, you just don't let them sit home till they go, because you're paying them for nothing. You got them over as much as they got over. You got them over, so go ahead and beat them. I don't know why Tony doesn't do that. I don't think Tony's talked to a lot of bookers. I really don't.
Well, he's Booker of the Year, or he was a few years ago.
Well, yeah, but who was he Booker of the Year for?
Oh, well, obviously the Wrestling Observer and Dave Meltzer voted him that.
Oh, yeah. So
he gave an interview recently, did Tony Khan, saying, so who helps you with the ideas that make it onto television? And he said, well, I talk to a lot of people, wrestlers and announcers and whoever he's got close to him, and is sort of like, he's barely got like a booking like ring, I guess, but I mean, people he's more close to, he's going to ask opinions. And then he said, but I usually only use about 10 to 20% of what people offer me. The rest I just come up with.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, why even bother then?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's Tony. I like him. I've only met him once, but I like him as a guy. Easy to talk to, but it seemed like he would be trying to learn the business instead of just. I mean, a lot of people have likened that to a kid with Legos.
Mm-hmm.
Put all his little or whatever, you put kings and queens out there. I don't know, but I don't get it. But hey, it's not my money, so he can do what he wants to do.
Speaking of the Wrestling Observer,
hey, Tony,
newsletter awards,
give me a job to where you don't want me to show up, and give me like, I don't know, 400 grand, 500 grand, and let me just sit home and just send me a check. I'll do that. I'd hate to do it, but I would.
You'd tolerate it, would you?
I would. I wouldn't like it worth a damn, but I'd take it, because what else am I going to
You'd
do?
be crying all the way to the mailbox, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I would just say, damn, it's time for that check again. Oh, to the bank. I'm gone. What's the other thing you wanted to ask me?
Oh, Wrestling Observer Newsletter Awards have been out. Now, there's so many different things that we could be saying. We're just going to stick with the main one here, right? So, 2024 Wrestling Observer Awards have been voted by subscribers to the Wrestling Observer. I won't go, as I said, I won't go through all the various dozens of categories. It's the one that really got me. And it wasn't who won, but it was Dave Meltzer's reaction to it, right? So, it was the top individual award was the Wrestler of the Year. And the Wrestler of the Year is the all-round. We're talking in-ring, we're talking on the microphone, we're talking carrying the company, we're talking the face of the company, we're talking the whole bit here. How much you drew, especially. And Cody Rhodes won it, handily. He got another 40% of the votes above second place, which was Will Ospreay, who, I think a lot of people might agree has had a phenomenal in-ring year. But once again, he wasn't the face of the company. He wasn't the champion. No one really draws in AEW, ratings or tickets. So, I mean, Cody's a head and shoulders winner, I guess. And obviously, Dave Meltzer's own paying subscribers who skew very heavily towards AEW also thought Cody Rhodes was the winner. But apparently, Dave Meltzer just couldn't deal with this, right? That Will Ospreay didn't win. So he said on his own Wrestling Observer Radio, I have a feeling that people will look back at these results, this is Cody Rhodes winning, not Will, in 50 years and say Will Ospreay was robbed.
In 50? He didn't say 50.
50 years.
What is
no one's going to give a shit
about?
in 50 minutes.
Hell no.
You don't even hand out plaques. Who could care less?
Okay, here's a guy, he's like 80 years old going, hey, let me get see one wrestler of the year. 2024. Hey, Dave, you're right. And nobody's on he didn't really write that.
No, he said it. He said in 50 years' time, when we're just heads in jars, right, like Futurama, we're going to be looking back in 50 years and say, bastard, it was Will Ospreay who was Wrestler of the Year in 2024 and not Cody Rhodes, even though it was Cody.
I think something's wrong with Dave. I think Dave needs to be admitted to the nearest mental hospital. I really do.
Is it?
It's not possible to be that stupid, is it?
No, he's defying the scientists, is Dave Meltzer. I don't know if it's just like a complete, just misplaced arrogance of how important he thinks these awards are, or the fact that his own subscribers, keep in mind they're paying $15 a month, right, for this insight. And here's something even more for you, right?
Oh, let me ask you this.
Oh, yeah.
How many subscribers does he have?
Don't know. Doesn't release that information.
I would say he has. What would you say he has?
Oh, thousands upon. Definitely in 5 figures, I'd say. And at $15, I mean, he's raking it in. I mean, what did Al Snow call him? The greatest worker in wrestling history. He never had to leave his house.
No kidding. I agree with that. But you say over 5 figures?
Oh, I think well over 10,000 paying subscribers, I'm sure, yeah. That's my guess.
Wait a minute, 10,000 subscribers at $15 is how much? 150,000 a month?
Yeah. But here's something else, right?
Well, hell, he makes a lot of sense. I'm going to start writing that crap.
Yeah.
Folks, stay tuned to Dutch's newsletter.
The Dutch Observer.
Come out soon. He don't even have to hand print it anymore.
No.
He just sends it out on email.
But here's something even more annoying, right? So not only does he complain when, for whatever reason, he's got some issue with someone winning, he does a podcast before the awards ballots are out, right? And then he goes through all the awards, and then he basically says who should win. So it's like Wrestler of the Year award. Oh, it could be Cody, but Will Ospreay had the greatest year. What was the event of the year? Oh, it was. It's probably. I can't see this not winning. He always frames it as like, oh, this is a slam dunk. So and so.
So he gives his choice first.
Yeah.
Hoping the subscribers follow him.
Basically, yeah, that's exactly what he does. And I was trying to think, is there any other like awards in any other sports or anything like that, where the owner of the awards basically tells you who to vote for every year. But this is every single year. It's like, it'd be fun. It's nice to like go back and say, oh, I would have disagreed, or I would have said this, that, the other. But when you're then, after the awards come out, when you're complaining that this is a robbery, when quite clearly it isn't, because you've got an absolute boner for AEW or Will Ospreay, which he does. It's madness.
It is. What is madness is people paying $15 a month.
You see, I like the old newsletters. But the thing is, they're full of crap as well.
Well, I like the podcast like we do. Hell, just listen to us. Hell, we'll give you how we think, and what means a lot more than Meltzer. You know the old saying about Meltzer, he never had to drive 15 miles for a show. He never had to put on his stuff, never had to go to the ring, take bumps, take slams, take this, take that, get hit with chairs and all this. He never had to do that. He just sat back and wrote about it and actually made more than the wrestler did because he was just paying himself.
Do you feel that I'm stealing a living from the wrestlers? Because I feel that way.
No, what, you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sort of the same as Meltzer in the fact that I make money from wrestling and have never wrestled in my life. Or talking about like wrestling, I say.
Not like Meltzer did.
I don't say I'm an expert.
Well, he thinks he is an expert. And see, the thing is, if Meltzer likes you and all of a sudden he wants to talk to you, you talk to him and you don't treat him right, like the king that he thinks he is, he don't want to talk to you anymore. Mm-hmm. And he would literally go out of his way to actually bring your worth in the wrestling business down by writing bad about you.
More than one person has said that to me, privately, in fact. Wrestlers have said, no, I can't tell you.
Oh yeah, he will. He got mad at me one time.
I can't reveal my sources.
And he defriended me. Is that a word? Defriend?
Oh, something like that. Unfriend, unfollow.
Yeah, he did it to me.
Oh, that's annoying. Roberta Flack has just died. Right, we shall move on. We're going to probably end... I don't know if we're going to end on this or one more thing, but let's talk about Tessa Blanchard. Right, so she on... I think it was an Impact taping. This was a taping, right? So they actually, broadcast it afterwards. They saw it and thought, well, we'll keep it in, why not? Tessa Blanchard was on the stage in TNA on the entrance ramp, and she had the microphone in hand, and she was talking to the audience. And the audience started chanting, "She's a racist. She's a racist." Now, I know we've talked about Tessa on the show before. Over the years, she's had numerous complaints about bullying. She, a black lady wrestler, I cannot remember her name, I'm sorry, might have had Rose in her name? Anyway, I can't remember. Said that during an argument, Tessa spat in her face and called her a racist slur. And then apparently there's even been complaints. She's just come back from Mexico, where she didn't drop the title she had, and then there's also been complaints about her being a bully there as well. So apparently she's never changed, and she just attracts a lot of controversy, I guess. Why would TNA, one, bring her back, and two, why would they lean into the she's a racist now? Is it just they can't get away from it, and you might as well make it part of a character, I guess?
Well, I don't think that can benefit them in any kind of a way.
WWE's working with them now,
Working with
TNA.
That won't go long. But I think WWE says, well, okay, we're going to take what little bit they draw and bring them to us, because the wrestling fans at heart anyway. But I think taking that she's a racist gimmick, if it is a gimmick, taking it to TV and letting it be broadcast isn't doing. I think that hurts you with sponsors big time. So I don't see the emphasis behind that. I don't see how that can benefit anybody. And sponsors don't want to be associated with somebody who's a racist. That's the worst thing you can be, really, unless you're just a damn pedophile or I don't know. I don't understand the why they would want to do that. I really don't.
I figure it's because there are so few women wrestlers who are good out there that they can like build a division over, and like in ring, Tessa can carry that load, but she comes with so much baggage.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Is she worth it?
I don't think so. I really don't. I think she's very good in the ring, very good. And maybe if she hadn't have done that, and she could be a racist. I'm not saying she's not, but that I don't know.
Well, let me tell you this, right? So I'm really sorry I can't remember the wrestler's name. So the black lady that Tessa allegedly spat in the face of, they took a photo together a couple of years ago, right? And then the lady, the alleged victim, I guess you would say, in this, did an interview afterwards, and they were asked. She was asked about, oh, this photo, does that mean all's under the bridge? Water under the bridge? And she said it's water under the bridge, but she never apologized. It definitely happened, but it's just like it's better for me to forgive and forget than to be upset about it. So I just thought. So after all that, you took a photo, and you never even got an apology.
So. She never apologized for it.
Supposedly so. Supposedly not.
Even to today.
Apparently not. No.
Well, I don't know. That's between them. But I think what's the girl's name again?
Tessa. Yeah.
I met her one time. I think I met her on, I don't know, some show somewhere. I've done so many shows over the years, I just can't piece it together. But I think that's going to be hard for her to get away from, and I don't think she'll be on WWE TV. Not with that.
No, I don't think so either. There's one more thing that I wanted to bring up, but it's just for a bit of fun, really, because it's really old news. Did you see Hulk Hogan getting booed on the debut WWE on Netflix?
I did see that. I did.
Did we watch it? I forget when you took your sabbatical.
I think we did.
Oh, did we?
I think so.
Ah, dearie me. One day I'm going to write down every single lie that Hulk Hogan has said publicly, and I know for a fact I started saving them, right, for a future video, and I got to like over 50. So at some point I'm going to do like every single one. And just
this is what I think. I think that Hulk has spent so much time kind of just thinking how great he is. I think he actually really believes that these things really happened. I mean, just to tell him that didn't happen, well, brother, then he would start telling you, I think he's he's took too many shots to the head or something, but I don't, he has said a lot of things that aren't true. People know they're not true. But yet he still stands. Has he ever really just been asked straight up, did that really happen?
Yeah, why are you such a bullshitter, bro?
Yeah.
No, do you know what, right? I remember when I must have done some video on my channel or on Stevie Richards' channel, whatever it was, right? And we did something on Hulk Hogan. And loads of people were like, hey, be nice to him. He's probably got CTE. And I was like, I'm tracing some of these verifiable bullshit lies he's saying back to the early 90s. When I'll guarantee, because he was protecting that head as best he could. He wasn't taking chair shots and doing, diving headbutts and stuff like that. I mean, I'm sure, he's rattled his brain more than a few times, but I doubt he had CTE 30-odd years ago.
No, he never really got... If you had a chair and Hulk Hogan, is you making money with Hulk Hogan, you want to keep him healthy. You didn't hit him too hard with the chair. Well, Stan Hansen may have. Stan didn't give a crap anyway. Probably didn't like him. Probably Bruiser Brody. How many times did he work with him? Not many. Because you hit him in the head hard one time. Guess what? Cut the deal. I'm not working with him anymore. He's gonna hurt me. Which is a valid excuse because with Brody and with Stan, yeah, they don't care, and they didn't care. They would just whack the hell out of you. Now, Stan at least had an excuse. He would say, well, I'm blind, and he was blind.
I was going to say, do you
He
think
had
that was
like
an excuse, or he just pretended to be blind just so he could hit you hard?
no, he was he was blind. He was like 2400, something like that. He was without his glasses, complete. He's like me. Mine's even, I guess, worse than that now. But because
I think you'd suit a monocle. Have you considered that?
do what now?
Have
See
you
what?
considered a monocle instead of glasses? Class up the podcast a
A
bit.
monocle is just one, right?
Yes,
No, I haven't
with a nice
considered
bit of
that.
string down,
Yeah,
a top hat.
looking through that. Okay. And that would be me. I would keep this eye open, but look
I
through
was
this
going to
one.
say.
Yeah, that's what I would do. But yeah, I Hulk is just something else. But he would be worth really just sitting down because
Strap into a lie detector machine.
he's a big bullshitter, but he is entertaining.
Mm.
He's entertaining as hell, and you get him talking about something, and he gets carried away, and he'd be good for a good 2 hours.
Hey, I want to ask you this. Any other wrestlers who have really terrible eyesight, apart from, in their prime, like Stan Hansen, was there anyone else?
Me,
So you always wore glasses?
I always wore them. Yeah,
Do you ever try contacts?
but no, I never did.
Yeah. Who else wore
But
them?
wore glasses and were
Well, I mean,
blind.
Jim Cornette's obvious, I guess, but as like in-ring competitors who had really bad eyesight.
Well, I'm trying to think. Brad Armstrong,
Hmm.
he couldn't see the end of the hallway, and he always had them on, but he never touched you. I mean, Brad Armstrong, not only was he a good guy, he was a great worker. You know what held him back?
Personality, I guess.
Yeah, but he had personality in the back. When you talk to him before you go out to do something, oh, he's funny as hell, and he had all this personality. And then you put him on the mic, and he'd go out there and he'd go, yeah, well, I'm going up against Dutch, and I'm going to tell you something, Dutch. And that's it. It was just a dry interview. He didn't have any personality. Nothing like his brother. Nothing like his brother or his daddy did. They had personality out the butts. But you can say, but they didn't have a lot of ring talent. True. That's why their personality on the mic was the best because, say, Handsome Jimmy had all that personality on the mic, but you didn't expect to see a 5-star match when Handsome Jimmy got in the ring. He told me one time he's going to the ring and and his matches were about, I guess, you could get about 8 minutes out of Jimmy, but it would take him 3 minutes to go and do his song down to the ring. The boy from New York City, and he'd go around the ring, and then finally, he'd have the guy would come and get him, and they'd roll back and ring the bell, ding, 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 and boom, and then he'd make the comeback, and all of a sudden he'd pin the guy in about 2 minutes. So that's already 5 minutes gone right there, and the people are on their feet the whole time because he had them on their feet as soon as he come out of the dressing room with that song, and he's dancing. They'd all get up to it, be dancing with him. And after the 2 minutes, then they'd play the song again, and he'd dance back down the aisle again, and that made up the 8 minutes. So when you saw it, you remembered you had a good time doing that 8 minutes, and the people were up, and a lot of times they would go right to intermission off that match because the people were already up on their feet. Said, "Hey, I'm gonna go get me some popcorn. I'm gonna go get me a hot dog. I'm gonna go do this." And he was we didn't call it the intermission match, but he should have been the semifinal. And unless he was in the main event, he would that would be the lead into intermission.
Do you know what? I want to ask you this. When did wrestlers start doing photographs in the ring, like in intermission? Was that a relatively modern thing, or did you do that in the territory days?
Probably when one wrestler got his check and was looking at it, and he said, "Man, I need to augment this salary somehow. And all of a sudden, they just had the idea, and you couldn't do it every week, but when they would do it, they would make good money.
You do it?
I didn't do that. I have done photo ops, but not in the ring that much.
Does it like hurt your aura, do you think, a little bit if you do that?
Well, at that point in my career, the aura was was the last thing I was thinking about. I was thinking about feeding myself. but sometimes you would go to the picture table or the gimmick table, and that's when you started seeing guys hanging around the table because the people at the table would tell you they don't sell unless you're out there. Well, what's that tell you? Well, I need to go out there, and you go out there, and yeah, they do sell. And at the time, I think he was selling for like, no, this is a long time ago, $10 or $15. But at the end of the night, you end up with $300-400. Didn't have to take a bump for it. Yeah, it was pretty enticing to go to that table. Then you meet the fans, and a fan's only going to pay $15 if they want to. You're not forcing them into anything. But if you're going to take a picture with me, and that picture, of course, it was mostly a Polaroid, and they would take it and somehow blow it up, take another picture of it and blow it up if they wanted to. But they'd always have a picture of you and them in it. So it was worth it to them, and it was worth it to the talent. Now that was about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. Now it's no telling. Some of those pictures with the talent now, they're up to like $200, according to who it is. I think with Hulk, I think it's 250 or 300.
Undertaker as well. He does those like VIP things. And you get about 4 seconds speaking to him a photo and then get out of the way. Right, okay. And speaking of getting out of the way, we're going to get out of the way as well. So everybody, thank you so much for watching the return of Storytime with Dutch Mantell. Yes, Dutch?
Remember that card I was going to tell you about?
Oh, yes. Adam Burbrower. He's doing a card. Have you found it?
Yes, I think I found it.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
Oh, let me pause 1 second, then hang on.
Okay.
Okay, right. Okay, we couldn't find the card apparently, so I'm doing the outro now.
Well,
so
it's a card. I think it's in New York State. I think, and I have this friend, Adam Burbrower, my attorney, by the way. So if you got any legal questions, just send them to Mr. Adam Burbrower. I will give his email address a little bit later on. And there's a card that's coming up, and to me, I don't go to wrestling cards. I don't go to independent wrestling matches, but this one I would probably go to because I just saw it and the names he has on there, and some of them are just knockoff names, I guess. But I think it would be a fun show to go to. So, and I will cover this next week. So,
speaking of which,
we'll end on that one.
I'm going to disappoint you right now, Dutch. If you've made it this far, there isn't going to be any Storytime with Dutch Mantell next week because
what?
Because I'm away, and we've had this planned for ages. And at the time, we booked it on a Monday because I thought I wasn't going to be working on a Monday. But now, since you've come back, we're now doing Monday recordings for a Tuesday episode. So I'm away on Monday, so we're going to have to postpone that a week or postpone it half a week. We'll work it out. But at some point, Storytime with Dutch Mantell will return. I just wanted to get that out. Very quickly, the plugs. James Romero YouTube channel, the links are somewhere, I don't know, but that's been doing gangbuster numbers and getting good subscribers, so please join me on there. Also the Stevie Richards Show on YouTube and all podcast platforms every single Friday as well. So until, I'm going to say Saturday, because we'll do it on Saturday for Ask Dutch Anything. We'll see you on Ask Dutch Anything, I guess, this Saturday, the usual time, I suppose. So until then, Dutch, we the people.